Howdy, everybody. Welcome to quarter one of 2026 Backlog review here on Cool Stuff, etc. I am your host, Riley, and I'll be discussing the games that I played and or are currently playing the first 3 months of the year. So we'll get right into it. There's our presentation. Allow me to hit next slide. So first, let's discuss the games that I am currently playing. I have my journal here that I have been utilizing. Let's get into it. These will be brief because obviously haven't finished them yet, so my thoughts are all sort of, in stasis, so to speak. First up, we have Dome Keeper. Started this in January of 2026, and I'm having a good time with it. Only have a couple of hours in. It's a roguelike tower defense style resource collection game. It's very fun. It's addicting, but it's not like life-ruiningly so. Like I can do one run and be done, for a little while. Probably have only done 4 or so runs total, but I'm having a good time with it. Whenever I got like hour to kill, I just do that. Next up we have Pentiment. Just recently started this. My fiance and I are playing this together. She's making the choices and I'm reading the dialogue. It's an RPG made by Obsidian, who you may know for Fallout and I believe also Pillars of Eternity. We're playing this on PS5. It is pretty great so far. I'm really hooked into the world they're building. The art style is reminiscent of old Christianity, like manuscripts and such, and in fact you are someone who writes such manuscripts, and so like we haven't even made it yet to like the inciting incident. Like I'm pretty sure someone gets murdered and there's a mystery to solve, there's secrets to uncover, but we're just sort of getting in the intro. We're playing about an hour a week, to be honest with you, in between other stuff that we're doing on weeknights, so but it's been great so far. And then PictoPix, this is a Picross game. This has been going on since September of last year. As you can see, I have 26 hours total. That's not for this month, it's total. And this is also another game I just like hop in every once in a while, do a puzzle or two. Picross is hard to get wrong, and I would say for the most part, this is a very good, version of Picross. If you're a Picross fan like myself, you could not go wrong here, I would say. Once you get into the bigger puzzles, right now I'm on the 30 by 30s. These puzzles are taking me like half an hour plus, man. I really want to, get all the achievements, do all the puzzles and all the secret fun stuff. So that, this might be a project ongoing for some time now, or sometime for the future. But for now, it's just, it is what it is, as the kids may do say. The Witcher. Also just recently started this, basically finished the prologue / tutorial, but I'm having a great time with it too. Story's a little clunky so far. They had to kind of, give Geralt amnesia so that the events of the books are, not in his memory. Like he has to, be a blank slate for people to latch onto and see the world through his eyes and learn everything. So that's fine. I mean, I read all the books in order to play this game, or I thought I had to. This is whatever. But it's pretty fun so far. The mechanics are fun. It looks very old and jank, which I have a soft spot for. So those are all the games that I am currently playing, in the midst of playing. Now we'll talk about the games that I completed, then I get into some statistics at the end there. First up, early in the year, I played Castlevania Aria of Sorrow and finished the Anniversary Collection. No, it's the Advanced Collection, excuse me. Castlevania Advanced Collection, which has all the GBA games on it. And, I actually... So it's funny, I expected this one to be my favorite because this is the one I hear talked about the most, right? The soul system is very cool. People love the characters. It's very classic Metroidvania gameplay that, Castlevania became known for after Symphony of the Night. But One thing that might have been a mistake on my part that hampered my or dampened my enjoyment of this game is the fact that I played this after finishing Silk Song. And if you've not played Silk Song, first off, you should play it. It's phenomenal. Secondly, it it's very quickly paced. You're doing actions all the time. Movement is crazy fast. And this game, in comparison, feels very dated and sluggish. It is not as slow or as bad as Circle of the Moon, but you can see I've given it a B. It's got great bosses. The soul system is cool. But I don't know, just something did not hook me here. I can't exactly say what. Maybe I'll go back and do another playthrough in a couple of years' time. But for now, it's sitting very comfortably at a B. Following that, though, is Legend of Grimrock. This is an A game for sure. This is a game, one of the games on my backlog that has been unfinished the longest. I first played this probably pretty close to when it came out in 2012. I was definitely in high school at the time, and for whatever reason, just maybe difficulty or my brain not being developed enough to do the puzzles and stuff, and whatever, getting bored, I stopped playing it. But I really have always wanted to come back to it and finish it, and I'm so glad I did. This game is awesome. It's sort of a real-time RPG, dungeon crawler, grid-based RPG. So the combat and inventory management is in real time. So you're moving and you're attacking in real time, and so are the enemies. So it's not just turn-based. Like there's cooldowns, for all of your actions, but it's not turn-based like JRPGs might be. And so there's an element of skill and reflexes in the combat. It's not just about crunching numbers and all that good stuff. Very, very puzzle-centric. Lots of great secrets to find. I definitely did not find them all in this playthrough. And the puzzles can be some real head-scratchers, man, like, sincerely. Definitely had to look around and use my senses a lot. And I think some puzzles, in fairness, did sort of boil down to find the secret button, but those were usually optional things or whatever. The hardest part of the game is the dinosaurs. There's these ice dino lizard things, and they're very cool design, but there's a part with them that just is abysmal. But once you get past that, especially the final boss fight at the end of the game is so cool, and I think it's really a phenomenal game. I think it's great, and I think that everyone should give it a check. Check it out, however you say that. And I'm looking forward to playing the sequel. There was a sequel, and then I think that the company that made the game sort of went their separate ways, so to speak. But anyway, I'm looking forward to the sequel. Legend of Grimrock is great if you're into that old school RPG feel. All right, next up, A+, Astalon, Tears of the Earth. This is a phenomenal game, truly. It's a Metroidvania made by the creators of Castle in the Darkness, which I played last year and also really loved. That game would probably be an A+, possibly an S as well. I love that game so much. So there's just so much good stuff here. It's got the very basic Metroidvania formula, right? There's a world to explore, lots of things going on. You're finding new equipment and abilities and going to new places. But the sort of the main concept here, gaming, what do you call that? Game mechanic or design mechanic, whatever you want to call it, is that you are playing as 3 different characters who you swap between and use their different abilities. They each do different things. They each have different ways to attack, and so you're using their different abilities in different areas to do different things and unlock new areas. You're unlocking new characters. You're fighting bosses, and in addition to that, every time you die, like your health, it's hard to regenerate your health, and so dying sets you back at the beginning of the castle. You have all your map, unlocked still, and you have like fast travel and stuff. But that's how you level up, is by dying and like conversing with this god that the mage Algis has made a pact with. And it has a surprisingly good story. I think the character art and design are pretty great. Enemies are fun. The world is very well laid out, and there's lots of cool secrets and stuff. I think overall it's a phenomenal game. The only real drawback that I maybe have is just that Algis is he's pretty OP. I found myself, once I got him leveled up enough, I found myself almost exclusively playing as him, unless I needed some of the other characters for their abilities, their character specific abilities. But they even into the late game, they all do have their pros and cons. I think Algis is just, his pros just more drastically outweigh his cons, especially once he's fully leveled. This is a game that I would want to go back to and finish some of the side content that they have. There's different modes to play through. There's a boss battle mode. There's a mode where you play as the villain, the Black Knight, and go through the castle that way. So there's still stuff to do, but I felt satisfied with the 15 hours that I spent, and just I think that really is all I would say about that. Next up, Castlevania Anniversary Collection. I would love to get through all the games in this collection. There's 8 of them, and so maybe that's one of my goals for this year. But if you're not familiar with Castlevania, this is a classic action platformer. Most of the games here are from the NES days. Some are from the Game Boy. So as you can see, the ones I have played and finished this quarter was first Castlevania The Adventure. One, because I just have heard that's one of the worst ones, and so I wanted to get out of the way. It was like an hour playthrough, and just to be transparent, I did use save states because I don't know, I just don't have like 10 hours to dedicate to learning this like pretty janky old game. Even with save states, it was still fairly difficult to play. That's going to be the biggest issue, is just that it is like kind of very slipshod. It's very interestingly programmed and designed, especially the jump. Man, the jump is just abysmal, especially jumping off of like ropes and stuff. You just like, there's some hard jumps to make. Overall, I would give it a C. It did not really stir anything within me. And then the original Castlevania, I think, is a great game. I think it's a wonderful game. I did give it a B. And that's just because, it's fun until it's not. I would say about the first 3 or 4 levels, it's like feasible for someone to like beat them, struggle a little bit, etc. But like seriously, once you get to the last few levels, it is just like the expectation of the player is crazy. It is so hard, so heavily relied on save states. I don't think that's necessarily to the game's detriment. I mean, it's fun to play. Like, I think the old school design choices are interesting, especially coming from a modern game background for the most part. Retro games had different sensibilities, let's say. And so, for instance, in this game, once you jump, you are like committed to that jump, right? When you hit the whip, there's a little bit of delay, etc. So it's just like, it's not bad, right? I think it actually is good. I think it's very interesting, but it is different, and so it takes some getting used to. And then, of course, I think, in my opinion, the best part of the game is the aesthetic. The music is phenomenal. The monsters and the designs and the bosses, those are all great. Simon Belmont is great. The iconography, the setting, the backgrounds and such. Like, this is all, it's classic for a reason, right? It's really phenomenal stuff. So next up, I'm gonna do Castlevania 2, which is, of course, another black sheep in the franchise. But a lot of people, I feel like, as time has gone on, are coming around on it. So we'll see. We will see. I am certainly not doing a blind playthrough. I do kind of plan to, do my best to not look things up, but I'm not, like, beyond it or past that. So we'll see what happens. Next up, Lovish. This is another game that came out this year from the developer of Castle of the Darkness and Astalon Tears of the Earth. It is not a Metroidvania like the other two games are, but it is a platformer. This was not on my initial backlog, which is why it's highlighted in blue. But it came out, and I was like, you know what? I want to support these developers, and so I bought it at launch and played it, and I think it's a good time. It'll definitely tide me over until Castle in the Darkness 2, which I've seen is sort of what they're working on currently. So the main gameplay loop here is one screen levels. You're jumping, you're swinging your sword, and you're slowly accruing coins to get upgrades and abilities. After each level is a little vignette that plays. Sometimes they're just funny, or sometimes you might get something and you might lose health. Whatever. There's a good amount of levels. There's a good amount of replayability as you're getting crowns to sort of unlock endgame goodies and even more stuff to play through. It's just a fun little time. If you like a retro style platformer with a decent sense of humor and a lot of sort of meta jokes about video games or what have you, I think it's a good enough time. What I will say, going for the 100% completion, the worst thing was farming or grinding for the final contact in your phone. At some point you get a phone and all the enemies and characters you meet go in your phone, right? And so the last one I needed was just it was a random vignette that would play after you beat the game and got the true ending. And so I just had to keep replaying the same level for fully an hour. And I was like, I have only one achievement away, so I'm going to do this. But it was a pain in the ass, so I would not recommend that necessarily. Although this is kind of the perfect game to 100% because it's laid out so cleanly and it is pretty addicting to play. It's very engaging, I would say. And there's a decent skill ceiling with movement and stuff. You can really practice and get good, I guess. Speedrunning type stuff. But actually, that's kind of a fun thing to mention because in going for this full completion, I had to I referenced some video guides about where certain things were, and watching the guide. No offense to the guy, because thank you for making the guide. It was very thorough. I really appreciate your hard work. But the guy who played it, I was like, man, he is moving slow, man. I'm cooking when I play this game. I don't wait. I just go do 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 do, and this guy's kind of like he's going. So no offense to him, but and then yes, of course, I am one of those people who spent $70 to play Resident Evil Requiem at launch. I love Resident Evil. I have played a good amount of the games. I'm kind of working my way through the series. And I, did my best to not look anything up about it and sort of had a totally blind playthrough, and I had a really phenomenal time. I think this is one of the best modern Resident Evils. Obviously, nothing will touch RE4 for me. I think that's probably the best in the series. Easily, not the remake, the original. But yeah, so I think RE9, RE Requiem, if you want to call it that, is a really interesting game in the series because you have Grace, whose gameplay is more in line with Resident Evil 7 and 8 to some degree. You play in first person. However, I will say I played in third person because Katrina wanted to watch me play, and she gets sick in first person games, so we play third person, which is actually, I think, really cool of Capcom to let you change like the perspective of not even just Grace, but also Leon. You could play Leon first person if you wanted to. But I digress. So Grace is sort of more survival horror, and Leon is more, I would say, action, like RE4 basically, action shooter game. It still has that survival horror elements of resource management and finding items to use for puzzles, but it's much less emphasized in Leon segments. And yeah, I've seen a lot of people talk about, they definitely expected it to be more of a dissonance between the two play styles, but I think I found, and a lot of people, others have found, that it's not the case, and that it actually flows together really seamlessly. I think the story is great. The characters, Grace especially, being a new character, is a new face for the series, not only in that she's literally a new face, but also that of the Resident Evil protagonists that at least I'm aware of, which I think is most of them, she is like the most scared, right? Like, she is a nervous wreck throughout the entire game. She has a lot of trauma she's dealing with, as does Leon, but it obviously manifests differently with him. So having Grace in those the scariest parts of the game, and having her like really freak out, I think adds to the tension. And then also just like the revelations at the end of the game. Obviously they retconned a little bit of from RE5 from what I've been told, but I actually really like that idea, and I think it sets up the next game pretty nicely. And so I look forward to Resident Evil 10 in about 5 years or so. But regardless, I think Requiem is great. I think everyone should play it. I maybe recommend waiting for a sale because $70 is steep. One playthrough was 10.5 hours or so in-game time. And while I think it was very worthwhile, I think that $70 is a little steep still. But I know they put a lot of work into it. There's a lot of technology and stuff that goes into it. But anyways. And then lastly, I actually just finished this last night. Finally finished Old World Blues. I love Fallout New Vegas. I think Old World Blues, in all honesty, is probably I was going to say it's the best, but I don't know. Dead Money is pretty great, too. I didn't have a lot to say about Honest Hearts. I thought that was just kind of fine. It was like a very quick little thing. And Old World Blues is not that long. Obviously, 6 hours is like pretty decent for, DLC, but I think my issue is not with the game necessarily, but rather that I am fully leveled. So, combat nothing really challenges you once you're like level 50 and you have decent stats and everything. You have good enough weapons and armor. So, like, the actual act of playing this was not the most enjoyable time I've had with Fallout New Vegas. But the story and the characters, really the characters, to be honest, are the best part. The dialogue with all the doctors who are just kind of like weirdos, and also the the sink where you stay, you find personality files for all of the appliances. So the toaster wants to take over the world. The light switches bicker between each other. Lots of really funny little gags here and there. So I think that if I had known better, I would have maybe played this during my initial playthrough when I was lower level and maybe would get more out of this. But as it is, I think the characters and the world are really cool to explore, but there's not a ton of I don't know, there wasn't a lot of challenge or like anything to keep me interested. Like looting didn't, I didn't care about looting because I have everything I need. So, but so again, that is not the game's fault. Obviously, that is sort of a me thing. But regardless, I think Old World Blues is sufficiently good DLC for Fallout New Vegas, and I'm excited to finish Lonesome Road in the future and kind of, wrap up my New Vegas playthrough. All right, let's go into statistics for quarter one. I finished 7 games. That's pretty good. I have 4 games currently in progress. 75 hours played minus PictoPix because that's from previous time, so I didn't want to count that. I have 141 achievements out of a possible 299, again minus PictoPix, which is about 47%. So I have a decent completion percentage. 2 games I fully completed, so that's nice. I think overall this was a pretty light month or lighter quarter than I had hoped for. There was a good chunk in there where my hands were hurting me, so I couldn't play games a whole lot. So I missed a couple weeks here and there, but I'm kind of feeling better, and I'm back on it, and I'm looking forward to The Witcher, especially, and getting into that, and getting into some other games that I'm hoping to play from the backlog. So I guess what I'll say to finish up is thank you very much for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed, feel free to check out some of the other videos on the channel, about the games I've been playing. I also have considered doing sort of a music retrospective of the albums I listened to, even maybe some movies stuff, but I don't know if those will be quarterly or biannually or whatever. But regardless, thank you for watching. Stick around if you like what I'm doing. Subtle nod to liking the video, subtle nod to subscribing, subtle nod to sharing it with your friends and such. Thank you very much for watching and tuning in, and I will see ya next time. Bye bye.